On this episode, Laura Sorensen is my guest. Laura is the founder of Atelier LKS. She is delightful sharing how she refuels with God, her methods of recalibration during stressful times, the role God plays in her business, and some of her favorite things. Listeners, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. So please, lend us your ear. Hello, Laura. I appreciate you spending time with us today. I met you through Dare Dream, connecting faith-based businesses. Laura, you helped me improve my website. Thank you very much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
very grateful. Please tell us about yourself and your business.
Sure. So I call myself a design doctor and a multimedia brand developer. I know that's a bit of a mouthful. And the name of my business is even more of a mouthful. It's called Atelier LKS. And years ago, when I was considering changing it to something that was just more easily understood, my mom said, "No, don't you dare change it. It sounds so cool. It's French." And it is. It's Atelier is French for studio, and then LKS are my initials. So ever since then, I just thought, all right, I'm just not going to change my business name. So there you have it. But as a design doctor and a multimedia brand developer, what I really do is help galvanize your brand identity and weaponize your visual marketing so that you can have a flexible visual framework for your brand. And I essentially help take all these different pieces of your brand, your logo, your website, all the different pieces of your digital and your print marketing, any visual touch point for your brand. And I take it from meh to magnificent. I know that's a little bit cheesy, but that's the way I like to explain it. And for the types of people that I help, I work with indie consultants. I work with whole marketing teams. I work with solopreneurs. And really what I do for them is I help them articulate their value. I help them stand out from the competition and continually discover cool, intuitive ways to share their offer so that they can make more money and change more lives, or change more lives really, and then maybe make more money. If you had to, I feel like change more lives is more important than making more money, but we all need to make a living, right? So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you. So let's jump in. When did God give you a vision to start your company, or did he?
No, he didn't really give me a vision. Really, in a way, my company was kind of started as a matter of necessity. I was actually working for a trio of Johnson & Johnson owned companies. They sold surgical devices. And I was working for them as a kind of a part-time, well, I was working full-time, but I was working for them as kind of a freelancer with this firm. And they wanted to actually not work with this firm anymore, but they still wanted to continue to work with me. And so they said, well, hey, if you start your own business, then you can bill us through that. And I thought to myself, but I don't really know how to run a business. And okay, sure, I'll just try it. So I really just ended up starting my own business because the only client I had told me that's kind of what I needed to do if they wanted to still work with me. And as I think back over my life, I feel like that's kind of the way I've ended up doing things. I'm not someone who's like super driven, and I can like, see where God is pointing me to. And I don't have these, like huge goals and I'm like, yes, I'm going to get there. And just being brutally honest here, I feel like God works with all kinds of people, right? And I feel like that is what he continues to do. He kind of puts me in situations where I whatever, I get so uncomfortable that I have to change or go in another direction, or he puts me in a situation where I can no longer kind of move in the same direction I've been moving, and I just have to do something else. And so that's how my business got started.
How does this influence your ability to share with other entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Well, I'd say I'm drawn to those people that, know exactly what they should be doing and see their success in the future. I'm drawn to those people because I think, opposites attract, I guess. And I really want to give them design and strategy tools to support them and to speed them on that journey that they're on. And on the other hand, I feel like I have just compassion for those people that maybe they're a little bit more like me. They have a great idea. Maybe they're already in business, but they're just struggling with the best way to be visually and textually coherent. And I know those are it's kind of like a, overbearing description, but they're just kind of struggling for the best way to kind of put all this stuff together and be consistent in what they say and how they look, and in the end, really be effective over time in an oppressively noisy marketplace. And I really think this really kind of stems from this place of me being the oldest sibling in a family of 5. I'm the big bossy sister, and my goal all through childhood was really to definitely boss my siblings around. I will completely admit to that. But what I really wanted to do is help them through life, because I was like, hey, I'm 2 years older than you. I know stuff, And so in a way that's good and bad, right? But I feel like that's how I kind of grew into this business. It's like, okay, I want to help people that aren't knowledgeable or aren't skilled in this area and are just completely overwhelmed and confused, or know that they need a guide.
At the beginning, were you ever doubtful this would work, your business?
Yeah. Like I said before, I had no idea how to run a business. And since then, I've had other people, that are kind of starting out come to me and say, what did you have to do? And did you, how do you know, which legal documents to fill out and, all this stuff. And it God just really kind of brought people alongside me that could help me figure out, okay, well, what type of business entity do I want to become, and okay, I'm going to need an accountant, right? Oh yeah, I need an accountant, those types of things. So I didn't really know all of those things. And I would say God really helped me. He kind of guided me in that those things, they didn't really fall into my lap, but I didn't end up kind of failing for several years and realizing, oh yeah, I need an accountant. So, but yeah, I guess in the end, what I would say about whether I was doubtful it would work is yes, completely. I thought, well, because I'm not like a businesswoman, and even now, Stacey, there are just some times where I just think I'm not a businesswoman. I'm just a designer. I'm just a designer that sometimes goes to business meetings and puts on a pantsuit. but even now, I'm putting together an offer that's directed squarely at, solopreneurs and indie consultants. And I don't know if it's going to fail or succeed. And between me and you, Stacey, I am totally trusting God every day to guide me in all the specifics, from the structure of this thing to how to market it and how to talk about it to, how to price it. So yeah, I think doubt is a big piece of business. And I think that if you say that you don't doubt, if you're someone that says you don't have any doubts, you're either really good at lying to yourself, or you're probably headed for a fall sometime soon, because it's the doubts that actually help inform how you move forward.
How do you take time to refuel with God?
That's a great question. I will say, unlike probably most people say, well, yeah, I really kind of have developed this habit of doing this one thing, every morning, or one thing every night before I go to bed. And I think that those types of things are great. I'm this weird, wacky person that I need variety. So I kind of change things up every few days. What I'm kind of doing right now, I've been doing for a little bit, and I'll probably stop and then come back to it, is I just pray in my bed before I get up. One little thing that I've started doing to actually help me feel like this is, something that I need to kind of have a start to, is I actually have on my phone, I just have a really quick way to record a prayer. So when I wake up, I just pick up my phone, and I just, without even really looking at my phone too closely, I just hit that record button and I just start praying to God. And I just kind of get out everything that I'm worried about for the day, and I just praise him for what he's done. And then later on in the day, after I've kind of made my coffee and I have time to sit down, I'll take some time to get into the Word. So I just finished reading the book of Romans, and I've kind of decided that I need to go back to the beginning of Romans and start again because it's just so dense. There's so much good stuff in there, and I understood most of it as I was reading it, but then, when I go to read through it again, it's like, wow, this is so dense. I really need to kind of get, my mental fingers in the dirt of this book. So I'll read like a section of Romans. And then sometimes I'll also listen to podcasts. I love listening to sermon podcasts, or I can at some point I can list some of the stuff that I love listening to. But I've also realized that I keep thinking that I should follow someone else's idea of what devotions really looks like. And God doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about me, doing this one thing that someone else is doing and doing it really well. All he cares about is me getting with him and talking with him and spending time with him and getting wisdom from him and taking the time to ask him for what I need every day. So that's okay if that looks different every day. And that's something that I still kind of struggle with, but I'm just kind of coming around to just being okay with. And it's okay if that everybody else has this way that you're supposed to do it, and I don't do it that way.
Does this help to feed your business, community, or yourself?
Well, I would say, yeah, all of the above. And I would say, real truthfully, Stacey, on the days where I don't take the time to get into the Word and pray and listen, those days really quickly, they just kind of go, they just pretty much go straight down the toilet. By lunchtime, I'm so stressed out. I'm pulling my hair out literally or figuratively. A whole bunch of projects have dumped in my lap, and I'm just overwhelmed about how I'm going to do them all. And I have this awful headache because of just worrying about all this stuff. And then I'll kind of realize, oh yeah, I was so intent on getting this project done or ticking that item off my list that I completely forgot about God this morning. So yes, it does help me immensely in my business. It focuses me. One thing that I try to remember to pray for every day is for God to help me use my time wisely. And on all of those days where I do pray that, I believe that He does. And of course, it helps me. It helps me in my community with other business owners, whether they're believers or not. I feel like I am more emboldened to talk about my faith. I'm just more outwardly directed. I'm less internally focused, and I want to help and encourage others more. And I just have more energy for that on the days where I refuel with God. So yeah, definitely helps.
What area are you most mindful regarding your walk with Christ?
I feel like I could go in a couple directions with that question, but I think beyond just reading scripture, and like I said, right now I'm reading through Romans. I think what really helps keep me focused on my walk with Christ, and like I was just saying a minute ago, like really in a state of wanting to encourage other people and having the energy to do that. What I really love to do is fill my free time by reading authors and listening to podcasts that not only encourage my faith, but they help me in my desire to serve God through my business, like what I do, on the ground and my day-to-day basis. And I also love, authors and podcasts that probe the kind of the deep, even kind of philosophical questions of life. And to give a few examples, I love Jordan Rayner. I don't know if you know him. I'm reading through one of his older books called to Create. And I'm also reading through one of his latest books, Redeeming Your Time, which is all about figuring out the best way to use your time based on how Jesus used his time on earth. What a great idea, huh? I recently finished this wonderful book by Gregory Gansel. It's called Our Deepest Desires, How the Christian Story Fulfills Human Aspirations. Sorry, I just had to have it right here. I just wanted to look at it. And then I love Veritas Forum. I love them so much. And then their kind of sister podcast, Beyond the Forum. And then Tim Keller, I love the guy. He has a really good podcast called Gospel in Life that's just his sermons in a podcast. So all of those things, I feel like they all kind of build me up in terms of my faith, my desire to just be a good businesswoman and just keep my head down. Don't get kind of swayed by, become a celebrity, a celebrity kind of business person, or, or you really need to be publishing, 10 Instagram posts a day. those types of lies that we believe, those items that I mentioned, they really kind of help keep me centered in my walk with Christ, in moving toward what I believe he wants me to do in my life on this earth.
Laura, I think you just answered the next question of how does it feed you?
Yeah. Well, so I guess to maybe just restate that like in another way, this they really keep me outwardly directed, right? Because I feel like once we kind of start looking inward too much, that's when we see all of these, quote unquote problems that we need to stop what we're doing and fix. And sometimes they are problems, sometimes they're not, but these keep me outwardly directed. They keep me focused and interested in how God is moving in the world, out in the world. It keeps me from this navel gazing that I was just talking about. And you know what? It just keeps me from putting like too much weight on every little action that I'm taking, just overthinking everything and really trying to like control everything. So I think really simply, it helps me give up so much of that control to God.
Do you ever have to recalibrate during times of stress, and how?
Yeah. And I definitely have to recalibrate. And I always like stumble through it. I don't have like, okay, now it's time to, do this, 3-step process. No, it's always messy. I work like I told you, I work in my home office, and I essentially stare at a screen all day. So when I'm having difficulty, when I'm overwhelmed, first of all, I feel like this is obvious, but it bears making a statement that I have to stop. I don't actually keep pushing. Actually, sometimes I do, and that ends up blowing up in my face. But I stop what I'm doing, and I find that working with my hands, like there's this old adage, if you work with your mind, rest with your hands. If you work with your hands, rest with your mind, So I find that just stopping and doing something with my hands, like it could be something like just something simple, like, folding laundry or washing dishes or, putting stuff away, or even just like playing with tactile objects or doing like wacky like mini art projects with washi tape. I have these little cheap matchbooks that we keep in the bathroom next to this little candle, and it's so much fun to make these matchbooks like look wacky and cool and pretty with this like all these different washi tape, like metallic tapes that I have. And it's so much fun to just like work with my hands and not be kind of thinking about something. So I find that something like that, whether it's like an art project, these matchbooks, I would not really call them an art project, but or doing just doing something around the house that's where I'm, putting something away or whatever, that helps my mind rest, and is renewing.
So far, when have you felt closest to Christ in your faith walk?
I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and just yesterday it hit me. I try to hold on so tightly, and and that can mean, so many different things, right? Those days when I loosen my grasp on reaching a result or meeting some goal like that, 10 Instagram posts in one day. I've never tried to meet that goal, by the way, but when I loosen my grasp on those things, those results or those benchmarks, and I just ask him to teach me how to use my time, he speaks to me throughout the day with these little coincidences that, of course, if I tried to explain them to someone else, they might not even make sense, or I wouldn't even really be able to explain them very well. But I know that he's speaking to me, and he's showing me that he loves me and that I'm on the right path, and that I'm in my purpose. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't really be able to identify like, oh, it was this season of my life, or I feel like it's really when I'm able to, at the beginning of my day, loosen my grasp on what has to get done and just say, God, this is your time. Tell me how you want me to use it.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Please share with us something joyful or 3 of your favorite things.
Okay, maybe I'll go for 3 of my favorite things. How's that?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 of my favorite things. First and foremost, I am a huge fan of cheese. I would be really depressed if I found out from like my doctor that I were, dairy intolerant or something, and I couldn't eat cheese anymore. My favorite kind of cheese is Gruyere cheese. Yes, it's French. I use it in this really good potato tart that I make for my family every Christmas and Thanksgiving. So Gruyere cheese, or cheese in general. I love Scandinavian detective shows. Trying to think of some of the ones that are my favorites. I love this one called The Bridge. It's about detectives between Denmark and Sweden working together. There's another one called Wallander that I love. There's one that I just finished recently on Netflix, Deadwind. I'm half Danish, so I think that probably plays a bit into it, but they're just kind of different enough from us, and they're speaking of the language. So I also think that plays into it. It's just interesting to see how they do things there. And plus, I always like the game of figuring out who is it that committed this heinous crime, whatever. And then the third thing I love is simply sitting in a cafe with a tasty mocha on the table in front of me and a good book, which I will say is, I'm really thankful to God that I've been able to do a bit more, but for basically like a year and a half, that didn't happen too much, if at all. And so I think my like a big part of me suffered because of that, because I wasn't able to just kind of get that just wonderful, wonderful downtime with a tasty mocha and a good book in a great cafe.
Laura, thank you for sharing your truth with us today. We so appreciate you. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. This was fun.
It was fun. I wanted to hear more, so thank you. Laura is energized by her work and refueled by her relationship with God. She is firmly rooted in Christ, and it informs her business, aids in helping her community, and guides her daily life, all while enjoying Danish television shows such as Wallander and The Bridge. Committed to the things she loves, she reflects the light of Christ, and we are better for it.